Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with a Total War Warhammer video. Today we'll be continuing with our mod highlight series. Today's mod is Sylvanian Mortal Levies. This was a mod requested by one of my subs in the official Discord, and funny enough is exactly what I've been looking for quite some time. What this mod does is adds in a bunch of different human units to Vlad von Carstein's von Carstein specific faction. As a reference in lore, Vlad von Carstein was known to be a good leader for the Sylvanians, by Sylvanian standards of course, and his armies were not just of the dead but of the living too. So with a combined roster of the living and the dead, it's up to you now to carve out your own destiny, and maybe even claim the title of Emperor, where you'll have all the other human factions under your thrall. If you're interested in checking out this mod for yourself because of this video, make sure to download Sylvanian Mortal Levies Restored. This is currently the only working version of the mod, as the original content creator has long since abandoned the project and it was taken up by another modder. And as per usual, to better show off any mechanics in a fast and efficient way, I'll be starting off a new campaign in easy mode and easy battles. Your campaigns will begin as normal. There are no new mechanics involved, barring all the usual vampire count stuff. Instead, you'll notice changes as soon as you jump into your building screen, as here you have a bunch of new buildings all themed around your living servants. The buildings themselves vary, but in most cases they will offer some public order, some income, or the ability to recruit some units. Some of which, like the peasants, you can recruit as many as you want. Others, such as the state troops and anything above them, have a cap in terms of recruitment. But don't worry, this is not a cap in a very similar sense to the Sylvanian crossbowmen or handgunners from the Bloodlines mechanic, but more in the sense of the Tomb Kings mechanic. As long as you can keep constructing these buildings, your cap increases more and more. The units themselves are fairly well rounded. You're not getting access to the complete Empire roster, as Sylvania itself wasn't very rich, but decent enough units to be able to make a difference on the battlefield, especially once you start adding in archery or even some cannon fire into the equation. And it is important to note that any other units that require multiple buildings to unlock them are thankfully tied into those buildings already accessible in the Vampire Count roster. It's great to see a mod synergize so well rather than add in a bunch of other buildings that only serve one purpose. The majority of the Vampire Count tech tree stays as standard, but you will notice there is an entirely new branch known as Legitimate Claim. This branch itself is centered around your human servants, giving them regeneration, melee defense, and so on. Everything that you need in terms of buffs for your human servants can be found here. There's also some extra ones which cost a bit of money in all honesty, which can increase your unit capacity for these units. Obviously this is just focused around the living servants, but I'm assuming if you're looking at this mod out of interest, you want to use human servants in your armies. You will also notice that some of these technologies also give you a reputation benefit with the elector counts of the Empire. This is where the lore aspect comes in, with Vlad demanding a legitimate claim, and should he ever become Emperor, obviously all the other elector counts would have to bend the knee. This mechanic works rather well, especially once you start carving your way into the Empire in an effort to get to the throne. You won't be bothered as much by the other Imperial factions, and once you eventually get your reputation high enough for them, and you're able to secure the alliance, then you can rule over the Empire as its dark and eternal Emperor, just as Vlad and Isabella had always wanted. There is also another technology here which you can unlock if you capture the Great Halls of Nagashizar, which give you reputation with the Disciples of Nagash in an effort to prove yourself as one of his descendants. The problem here is the Disciples of Nagash don't generally last that long or never become a superpower. However, the +3 Lord recruitment rank benefit is fantastic, and you'd probably want to go for that just for that. You will also notice that any landmarks of importance to the von Carstein faction now also include any benefits added in by this mod, so your landmarks will always be viable to you regardless of the situation. This mod adds in a new Legendary Lord and the new Outlaw Lord, and just for clarity's sake for people watching this video, you can find them in the Vampire Lord tab. But let's take the time now to look at the new Legendary Lord, Gunther Grabner. Please bear in mind that Gunther and the Outlaws aren't nothing spectacular, but we're still going to give them a proper look. Gunther has, well, very average stats in all honesty, nothing too great. However, for a melee caster hybrid, it's really not too bad. Instead, Gunther gets a lot more powerful once you start unlocking his special items. Those themselves will make him much more valuable in melee combat. Still, it won't be amazing, but he's still better than Helmengorst. You can recruit this character straight on from turn 1, however, given the circumstances, it's highly unlikely that you're going to have any sort of outlaw units at the beginning, so maybe it's best to recruit him once you actually have access to those units. My only complaint about this character is he's supposed to act like a legendary lord, but unfortunately, despite the fact that he has a unique model, a reskin of course, and is fairly decent with his unique items, he's very much lacking in terms of unique skills, and is very much the same when compared to the standard outlaws. Speaking of which, let's check them out now. So you'll notice the stat line is almost very much the same to Gunther. You're basically getting a carbon copy with Gunther, which is a little bit stronger. We won't spend too much time on this character, the skills are very much the same too in terms of the unique ones. Reduction of upkeep, extra money from battles and sacking settlements and so on, all identical to Gunther's ones. It's when we move around to the heroes where things get a tad more interesting. Here we have the Alchemist, a ranged hero which is also a spellcaster. The spells themselves are focused on various different laws of magic. You're not getting anything unique, but you are getting fairly useful spells like Pestilent Breath, Blessed with Filth, Flesh to Stone, Plague of Rust, and so on. Other than that, the Alchemist has a few unique skills, some which focus around the buffing of his own range damage, and you can get an increase to research rate through this character too. But interestingly enough, the one that actually got my interest here was Soapmaker, which increases your income generated by 150, and also produces a new trade resource too, so you can use that to try and get some cash in. And lastly we have the Enforcer, a basically carbon copy of the Empire Captain, just as a ranged hero instead of a melee focused hero, and to be honest it makes a lot of sense here. If you're going to have a bunch of Sylvanian levies for your armies, it also makes sense to have an Imperial Captain. Thankfully this character can also mount up, so you can have him with your Imperial Knights too, but as most people are already well acquainted with the Imperial Captain, there's not much need to talk about this character. On screen right now are all the units added in by this mod with their respective stats. We'll be panning over them quite decently as I give my final thoughts on this mod and how it could be improved upon. The mod itself is something that I've been looking for quite some time now, as I, like many others, believe that the Von Carstein faction should act more as a sub-faction and have a certain number of human servants already in vanilla. It makes sense for Vlad and Isabella to field both human and unliving servants. And in truth, the mod plays very well. The human servants themselves are quite well balanced, and they don't really change too much of your aspect, barring the obvious inclusion of some ranged units. I do highly recommend this mod to people interested in having a different form of gameplay style with the Von Carstein family, but there's still some things that could be improved upon. If Vlad is to become Emperor, there should also be an elect account mechanic, a basic carbon copy of the Imperial one, also available to him. It would be rather interesting if you could then set upon having your own elect accounts taking over territories. And once you had access to more imperial provinces, you'd be able to unlock more units in relevance to the province themselves. Say for example, you'd start off as a basic sub-faction only having access to some peasantry and basic state troops. Once you conquered the territory of Wissenland, you'd then get access to not only cannons, but mortars too. Capturing the region of Altdorf should give you more access to knights in the form of knightly orders, and perhaps there could even be events situated around your eventual conquering of the empire and becoming the emperor. As you subjugate more and more imperial provinces, then the other provinces will start banding against you, in a very similar sense to how imperial authority works. You control territories, you gain more authority, which would eventually see you crowned as emperor should you max out a special bar. However, as you gain more authority and as you start getting closer to becoming the emperor, the other provinces will have to start banding together in an effort to fight you off. I don't know, maybe I'm asking for much, but it would seem quite thematic, and that's the type of stuff that I'm always really much into. And if anyone knows a mod like that, please let me know. In fact, as always, should you know of any interesting mods, please don't hesitate to suggest them either in the comments below or join the official Great Book of Grudges Discord, where you'll be able to have more easy access to me. And as always, if you're interested in downloading this mod, you can find a direct link in the description below. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel has been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.